great name, Terry Rocks. See, I like the name like Bill Rocks. But anyway, Terry is an investment broker by trade.
Not really.
Well, he'll tell you a little bit about that. But I'm close. But he's here really today to speak to us about the Brevard Youth Network, which is people who help disadvantaged kids, and which is certainly a worthy cause. So come on up, Terry, and tell us everything about it.
Thank you. Actually, I've got some handouts. Can someone help me? And I had a printer malfunction, so if you could, the idea is to do, if you go to the bottom, 1, 2, and then put that on top. That's the way you should go. So 1, 2, and then the one on top. Sure. And how many? I have 20, so hopefully 2, 3, 4. Maybe do one per 2 people. Sure. And you can share that. I can email everybody. So just two of the bottom ones. So that should be the very bottom. And then Parallel Towns is the top, and then that goes on top.
Can you handle that, Timmy?
I think I got this.
You should two from the bottom, one from the top.
And
I can dance well.
Yeah, and let me have one of the ones. Never mind. I've got a black and white here. I'll take. That's all I need. And I think I need a Parallel Towns one for read. All right. Well, so I didn't know I was speaking here until about a day ago. I was at my accountability group, and Jason Hedman, I think Jason spoke here last week, right? Jason? Right. He says, so you're the speaker next week at F.U.E.L. And I said, no, I'm not. What are you talking about? So Bill and I connected, and I honestly didn't know what I was going to talk about, and usually there's a couple of things I like to share with men when I have an opportunity, and the thing I wanted to share today was really on gifts. And we have a deep study we do on the parable of the talents that talks about the gifts that we all receive. But it was funny because last night I was praying, and God told me to say something that is completely not what's on the printout. So I don't know if we're going to talk about what's on there, but I just felt like to share something with you guys. Now, I don't go to F.U.E.L meetings, and I'm God has me here, but I'm just like you guys. So I mean, don't put me on a pedestal. I'm just, we all have our issues, and so I just want to let you know I'm honored to just hopefully share some light, and just want to share my story. Maybe some things that God's done with me can help inspire some of you guys. Should I give a history of my background, or what is there I don't have an agenda, so
just talk.
So I grew up in New Smyrna Beach. That's my hometown. My wife's from Melbourne, lived in Melbourne about 20 years. And about 15, 16 years ago, Judge Robert Berger and Jason Hedman and I, who were friends in a lot of ministries, decided that there's a lot of kids in our community that are really going into the system and really going awry. And these are kids that you would not consider at risk, because at-risk kids have no mom, dad's in jail. They're really at risk. You've got kids in the church, but these are kids that really look good, smell good, and there's nothing really wrong with them from the outside. These are kids with good homes, often mom and dad's in the house, and often they're in church youth groups, but the youth pastor doesn't really know what's going on. And what we realized back then, and it was actually Sheriff Parker who came to us, who came to the judge and said, do you know what's going on in an elementary school here in Viera? This was 16, 17 years ago. And he said 5th graders are playing the color game. Anyone heard of that? So the color game was basically 4th and 5th graders. So the girls and the boys would get together, and the boys would paint their peepees a certain color, and they would turn off the lights, and then you can figure out the rest. And we were just like shocked in awe that this is going on. And well, no wonder when you look at what's in the lyrics of the music that kids listen to, and you look at the movies they play, and mom and dad have no idea what's in the music their kids are listening to, and mom and dad didn't know this was happening. That really kind of shocked us. And then when the judge when Robert Berger got elected to be a circuit judge, he said, what's going on in his courtroom is just really heart-wrenching. And that's what really started BYN, was to say, we have to reach these kids because they're not being reached. And what we realized was, we didn't even know what cutting was when BYN started. And for those of you that don't know, cutting is where kids are self-harming themselves. by the masses these days. The statistics are just insane if you look at them. And I usually have a slide to show. Usually we do like a 1 hour talk or 2 hour talk on this. And I show at every 2 hours how many kids cut themselves, how many kids get raped, how many kids get abused. It's just here in Brevard County. And it really makes you stop for a minute and say, wow, what can we do as a community to fix this and to change this? And so the whole idea of Brevard Youth Network started with this concept of doing mentorship. But what we realized was a lot of these kids that really need help do not want to come to churches and youth groups and where they can get help. A lot of it, the enemy has them just deceived, they're not worthy to go to a ministry. And let's face it, the last place these kids want to go on a Friday night when they can party with their friends is a youth group. So, you know, the youth pastors have a heart to help, but they won't come to the churches, right? You've got the school system, which is not necessarily helping the situation. And so BYN started, and Brevard Youth Network, which is our website, brevardyouth.network.com, we're not an organization. We do not exist. That was one of Jason's, as an attorney's, original concepts that God gave him. Said, no, we don't want to be sued. And I'll tell you, it's pretty amazing what God has done to fight the LGBT agenda 2 years ago when they tried to change the Brevard County school system. We had reporters, and we had some really threatening hate mail come to us. But we don't exist. Nobody knows who we are because we're not an official organization. It's kind of neat how God has kind of formed it. We're just a network of people in our community who want to change what's going on with the youth. That's what Brevard Youth Network is. You can't give us money as a business owner. We all get together. We call it String of Pearls if we do an event. And I'd ask you guys to write this down. We do this every year. February 13th. We do it at different churches. This year it's at Coastline Church on Beachside. It's called Silver Ring Thing. Silver Ring Thing is a national youth abstinence program. They come in with a full show, interactive lights and performances. And what's really great about Silver Ring Thing is it doesn't come off preachy or Christian. It comes off in a very smooth way where non-believing kids over a 3-hour program will really understand, wow, I need to get redeemed. And so that's a $5,000 event. You know, we get 10 people to give 500 or we get 20. So we try to, as a community, fund these events to bring these events to our community. The whole vision is doing church outside of a church. That's what Brevard Youth Network really does. We establish events as business owners. We're not the church. So we can do what the church can't do. If we want to go teach Jesus in a public place, we have a legal letter from a city attorney that says, hey, you're just selling advertising. The church, you're selling ad. Now, we're not selling advertising to the church. We're not charging the church anything. But the church can sit there and preach just as much as a car company can sell cars. So we've been able to do some amazing things and preach the Word of God in the schools and in the community. That's Brevard Youth Network. So if you guys want to learn more, if you're inspired, just you can connect online, brevardyouth.network.com. There's a contact form. You can say, hey, I'm a youth pastor. I want to connect. I'm a business owner. I want to give. Or I'm a parent with kids at risk. Is there some programs that can help them? And we've got a huge network that God has put together in the database for kids that have been abused in certain ways. There's some really great Christian counseling that we're trying to build in the community. So that's Brevard Youth Network. Any questions on that? Or yeah,
where did you say that was?
BrevardYouthNetwork.com.
Oh,
I'm sorry. The event. Yeah. So and actually, Silver Ring Thing, silver like the silver ring thing.com is the website, and you can. It's actually on our website too, but you can go to their events and look at Brevard County to get all the information. It's Coastline Church, which is a church on O'Galley, Pastor Jason Meyer's church. That's the host site this year for Silver Ring Thing. Now here's the thing about Silver Ring Thing, and this is our heart. There's two really key things I'd ask you guys to all catch this. The first is, this is a great excuse for kids in a youth group to invite their lost friends. If I don't know if there's youth pastors in here, but if you say, oh, I'll bring my youth group, it's great to bring the youth group. but it's a great event to get your youth group to invite their lost friends that may not have been wanting to come to church. This is kind of a unique event. It's a powerful event. There's a great video. I mean, they do a great video. It's like a 1-minute video, which kids watch it. It's like, hey, I want to go there. It looks like a nightclub type environment. It's really attractive to young people. So watching that video online, it's like, hey, I want to go to that. Hey, it becomes viral. They use social media, and the kids come and they learn. They learn about the biblical purpose of marriage, the biblical purpose of sex, and they learn about redemption, and they learn about Christ, and they you know, I mean, we did an event. I always use Calvary as an example. It's my church. We did it at Calvary years ago. You know, we had 400 kids saved there. We've done it at First Baptist Maryland. We try to go up and down the county because we're a long county. We always do it around Valentine's Day because that's when kids make bad decisions. But the other key, there's a parent session that's going on at the same time as the kids session. If you're a parent, you should go to this. And this is a free event. The costs have been covered. And a lot of parents drop their kids off and leave, and that just bothers us because it's like they don't realize what they do at the parent session while the kids are in their sessions. They're teaching the parents what's going on in culture. They're teaching the parents the top 10 songs your kids are listening to. This is the words. It's pornography. It's just and you know how the song, you know how the enemy is. The enemy has a veil on parents' minds. They listen to music on the radio. It's funny how cryptic the music is. You know, it just sounds kind of okay, but when you really realize what they're talking about, the kids know what they're talking about. So they're really good at exposing that and making mom and dad aware to be advocate. And what we love about the way that Silver Ring thing, very professional organization, they equip the parents and support the parents long after the event. And they support the kids long after the event. So it's really a great organization. But February 13th, I didn't come here to promote an event, but that's a great event that's happening in our community. If you know young people, 13 to 17 is the age. So 12's too young, 18's kind of, so 13 to 17 is kind of the target range to get them to that event. So that's Brevard Youth Network. This is what God led to me last night. Now this is actually a little study we do. We do a study. We actually do this in business for business owners. This is adapted for non-business owners. We do a study on the parable of talents. I'm going to come to that because actually the first page, I have a slide. The first page, if you look at that picture, can someone just read that scripture right there that's on this picture? Someone want to volunteer to read that?
And God blessed them and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it and have dominion. Genesis 1:28.
Wow. So, what's the 3 most significant events in history?
Resurrection of Christ is one of them.
Okay, what else?
Creation.
Okay. And see, a lot of people say, the coming of Christ, the death and resurrection. That's not. So, creation and what? The fall. Those are the 3 most significant events: creation, the fall, and redemption through Christ. And one thing that I've noticed is, and I mean, I love our pastors in our churches, but it's like when you go to church every Sunday and they talk about salvation and they do a salvation call, what are people really being saved from? People don't know. You talk to Christians, say, I'm saved. What are you saved from? They really don't understand. And everyone knows where you were born. You know who your mom and dad is. I mean that's foundational. Because when God created the earth, he gave a gift that a lot of people don't know about. It's the gift of dominion. We have power on this earth. And the reason this came up is because of what's going on in the ark. It's disgusting. Now a mother can have a baby and decide to kill the baby. I mean, this is insane. This is just insane. And as Christians, we just kind of, they are fighting for real. The enemy's side is fighting for real. The financial world, We do biblically responsible investing. I'm not a broker, by the way. We do comprehensive planning. We're a fee-based firm. We do investments, but that's not really what we do. But that's not important. But we educate people that making sure when you invest money in a company, that company is not indirectly funding the gay movement, because there's billions of dollars that these corporations are giving to these political action committees and these attorney groups, which is why the gays are taking over and why these things are going on. And I'll tell you, it's a lot more powerful to send a letter to a corporate board, which is what we do, to say, hey, we're not investing in your company. There's change that happens. You can boycott Target, but Target doesn't care. When an investment group sends a letter to a board, some companies change. A lot of corporate boards don't know they're doing this because they're such big companies, but some companies, they don't care. So, but here's the deal. We have dominion on this earth, but here's the key with dominion. When God gives a gift, He doesn't take it away. It's in our DNA. So even those who are non-believers, even those who may be working against the kingdom, have that gift as well that God gave them because He gave it to Adam. We all have that gift. It's up to us to claim it or not claim it. The enemy side is claiming that gift that God gives because He doesn't take it away. We need to stand up and say, no, we have that gift of dominion. Now, why is the other side fighting against the kingdom in the first place? Because of the fall, the curse. The fall of man cursed every one of us for the rest of time. Generational curses is generational blessings. We all are living under that curse. People say, well, why is all this bad happening in the world? Why this? Because we're cursed people. We're living under that curse. And unless you really understand what that means, you can't really understand what reconciliation with Christ means through redemption. And so that's so important. We have to understand what the curse means, right? Sickness, death came, disease came, and a corrupt heart because we became aware of all those things of temptations. That's what came. Christ came to restore us back to the Father because we have a holy God that cannot dwell with us if we are in, as we all know that word, sin. But what it really means is we were separated. Adam separated himself from God. And we have that same problem. Christ came to restore that relationship. So that's what God gave me today to say, as Christians, we need to remember our roots. We need to remember why this is so important. It's funny, I had a friend of mine that was playing this. He would ask, what's the 3 most significant events? And everyone says it's, Christ's death, burial, resurrection. It's like, no, the fall and the curse are significant because that's part of our DNA and why Christ came. So the other part of that, how am I doing on time? I was going to set a timer. Oh, we're good. Okay. Good deal. So the other part of that, and I want to leave this with you guys because I think this goes back to Brevard. This is why when I saw the subject of Brevard Youth Network, I want to talk about gifts. Because any ministry, whether it's our local churches, relies on resources. Not just financial resources. It's funny because I coach soccer too. It's a lot easier to give money to a soccer club or give money to a church, not always, but than time. Because we're all so busy. The busyness of life. We have so much coming at us today. Dads don't even show up to watch the kids play soccer. It's sad because they're too busy. You're too busy to watch your kid play soccer. You're too busy. And we have a fallen world. We have a fallen, right outside this glass, there's people suffering. There's those kids cutting themselves and getting harmed. And there's adults. I mean, how can you have hope in this world when you watch the news every day if you don't know who Christ is? That's our job, is to reach those people. That's our primary job, is to reach those people. But we have to take dominion over the evil because we have power through Christ. But we got to know our gifts, and we have to invest our gifts where God calls us. There's an interesting scripture, everybody's heard it. He works all things together for our good. What's the other 2 key parts of that scripture, though? Those who love him and call. Now, does anyone know what that love, what that means? That love translates to obedience. those that are obedient, number one. So say, well, hey, he's going to work it all out for my business or my finances or my family. But if we're not being obedient, things may not work out. And the other part of it is the calling. Are we working according to where he has called us to be? Because a lot of us, I did this for years. I thought I was working for the kingdom. That's not where God wanted me. That's where I wanted to be. That's not where things just kept not working. Why isn't it working? Oh, God didn't call you to work there. He's just going to be patient and let you keep making a fool of yourself until you realize there's a very specific calling he has on our lives. And the parable of talents is an important, really important scripture. I want to just read it, and I assume everyone's read it and heard it taught. This is a little bit of a, I believe there's a little bit of deeper study. If you guys kind of know these principles, great. But I'm going to ask for someone to read this for me. If someone could read the parable of talents. It's right there. I gave it to you on a printout. Just read the first paragraph there.
Again, the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of a man going on a long trip. He called together his servants and entrusted his money to them while he was gone. He gave 5 bags of silver to one, 2 bags of silver to another, and 1 bag of silver to the last, dividing it in proportion to their abilities.
Okay.
He then left on his trip.
So, if you would, just replace the word silver or money, which that is key, and just consider that wealth in the kingdom, which is a gift, a talent, and ability. A doctor's ability to heal, an artist's ability to paint, a singer's ability to sing and bless others with their voice. Or it might be financial too. It might be financial too. God gave us all talents according, what was this? Read the last sentence.
Dividing it in proportion to their abilities.
Dividing it in proportion to their abilities. We all have unique gifts based on our ability. You know, the world system, keep up with the Joneses. Well, hey, I want to go be rich because they're rich. You know what? You may not have the ability to be rich, but that doesn't bring happiness anyway. That's the world system. That's what the school system teaches our kids. You got to make a lot of money to be happy. No, you need to be in God's calling to be happy. I know a lot of people with no money are way more happy than people with money. Are we in his calling according to the abilities he birthed us with in our intended purpose on earth, which really brings contentment and satisfaction? Read the next paragraph, please. Anyone.
The servant who received the 5 bags of silver began to invest the money and earned 5 more. The servant with 2 bags of silver also went to work and earned 2 more. But the servant who received the 1 bag of silver dug a hole in the ground and hid the master's money.
Why did he hide his master's money?
He's afraid.
That's the key. Fear. Why was he afraid?
The master was disobedient.
He didn't have enough confidence in his ability.
That could be true too. Fear was one. There was another reason. We're gonna get to the next reason in a minute. But fear is key. So think about this. You know, entrepreneurship. That's my passion. We teach a program called Biblical Entrepreneurship for business owners or those who should be in business, but the enemy has them trapped to break away and start a business and employ people. Think of how much fear has stopped people from stepping forward into ministry or into their true talents. Okay, so that's why that's so important. God expects a return on what he gives us. We have to step out in faith and invest that ability. Someone please read the next paragraph.
After a long time, their master returned from his trip and called them to give an account of how they used his money. The servant to whom he had entrusted the 5 bags of silver came forward with 5 more and said, Master, you gave me 5 bags of silver to invest. I have earned 5 more. The master was full of praise. Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount. So now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together. The servant who had received the 2 bags of silver came forward and said, Master, you gave me 2 bags of silver to invest, and I have earned 2 more. The master said, Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling a small amount, so now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together.
So, they did good. What was their reward for doing good?
Getting more
Getting more what?
responsibility.
More responsibility, which is more work. What does the world teach our young people?
Don't do anything.
Well,
Little profit.
they teach work is bad,
Right.
right? So they teach, work really hard to make, what's the reason that you work hard? What's the reward?
Get rich.
Money is the reward. Now, and I think most of us in this room know that's a lie. I mean, money destroys lives, especially those that don't know the biblical purpose of wealth. This is from a seminar we teach called The Purpose of Wealth. The world believes it's to fulfill my lust, get a fancier car, get a bigger plane, get a bigger house. That doesn't bring happiness. That usually brings disaster. So that's key to understand what is the reward. It's more responsibility. What was the other part he said though? Let's celebrate together. Another translation, enter into what? Basically the master, God, brought us into the kingdom and said, hey, you have full rights and privileges now under my dominion. This is God, but think of the privileges those servants got and received based on being good stewards. What's the next paragraph, please?
Then the servant with 1 bag of silver came and said, Master, I knew you were a harsh man, harvesting crops you didn't plant and gathering crops you didn't cultivate.
Hold on 1 minute. So fear, that what is that? What is that right there? What is that? What's he saying?
He said, I was
I
afraid
don't
I was
trust
in the
you. I
wrong
don't
job.
trust you.
Well, so okay, let's say I work for Sonny's as a busboy, and I take all the stuff off the table. I do a quick wipe, but I don't really wipe it clean because I'm like, oh, what do I care? What do I care? I just want my money to go home. It's good enough. I don't make all the money they make. I mean, the manager drives up in a brand new Honda. I'm just driving an old beater car. Why am I going to do any more work for this guy? They're not paying me anything. They're barely paying me anything. I got to wipe down this stupid table. That's the attitude he had. He was ungrateful. Why should I work hard for you? That's the problem with our society today. Not just in business. Why should I go volunteer at the youth ministry? Why should I do that? Why should I do all this extra stuff?
Because the Bible says so.
Please continue.
I was afraid I would lose your money, so I hid it in the earth. Look, here's your money back. But the master replied, you wicked and lazy servant. If you knew I harvested crops I didn't plant and gathered crops I didn't cultivate, why didn't you deposit my money in the bank? At least I could have gotten some interest on it.
So that's what we talked about. So what did the master do? Cast him out. He's gone. Please continue. Next paragraph.
Then he ordered, take the money from this servant and give it to the one with the 10 bags of silver. To those who use well what they are given, even more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who do nothing, even what little they have will be taken away. Now throw this useless servant into utter darkness, for there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
That's pretty harsh, ain't it? It's nothing personal, it's just business. It's God's business. So, it's not very fair if we have a world that talks about fairness all the time. I hate that word fairness. I hate it. It's not about what's fair, it's about what's just. And in a world that doesn't know biblical wisdom, what is fairness? Well, it's whatever anybody thinks of it. So, is it fair that Christ came to this earth and suffered the Roman crucifixion, which was just brutal, disgustingly brutal, bloodied up brutal, beaten and ripped apart physically for us, to save us? That's not fair. That's not fair at all. But that's what he did for us. All right, last paragraph. I think it's the last paragraph, right? Was that it?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go to the next page. Does everyone have a pen? No? I have one I can lend. I'll lend one. If you guys don't have a pen, I'll email. Is everyone on the email list here, I assume, somehow? So if I email Bill the answers, he can spread it out to everybody?
Yes.
Okay. And actually, these are 12 principles. There's actually about a 10-page study that unpackages each of these. I'd like you guys, I'd encourage you guys to make this a daily devotional for the next 12 days. It just 5 minutes a day. That's it. 5 minutes, read each principle. And so I'm going to give you the answers, but then it's really important to kind of unpackage them. So, number one, God has given each of us talents in the form of gifts, skills, treasures. Anyone want to guess what it is? Based on our abilities. Based on our abilities. Based on what we were born with. Why is that so significant compared to what the world teaches all of us and our children? Why is that so significant? Anybody want to guess?
We can't expect all of us to become millionaires and have be the best man in the world.
Right. Or whatever it may be. Not everyone's supposed to be a builder or an academic. My dad was a contractor, taught me the trades. I mean, we have a huge trade shortage right now because our school system gave up all those trades for academics, and now we've got generations of kids that can't get any work, and we've got like welders making $200,000 a year because there's not enough people to weld. Because it's the world system of what's money versus God-given gifts and abilities. So based on our abilities, that's what our children need to know. That's what mom and dad need to know. What is God's purpose for my child? That's what I want my child to grow into, not what the school system says. Number two, we each have a responsibility to exercise wise stewardship over our talents through trade. Wise stewardship is the busboy making that table look better than it looked this morning. Cleaning up this table way better than it could ever be. In a couple months, the boss is going to give me a raise and promote me. That's what wise stewardship is. That's just one example. We have a responsibility to exercise wise stewardship over the talents He gives us. If we are financially blessed, are we really trusting that? Here's an interesting question. Can a steward lose money? Can a steward lose money? Why? Because he owns nothing. It's all God. If the money in your bank account is not yours, when you realize it's all God's, you can't lose anything. Being a good steward means putting Him first. Number three, whenever there is trade, there must be a profit. There must be a profit. Parable of talents. Profit is the fruit of proper stewardship, not the reward. What was the fruit? More responsibility. Entrance into the master's kingdom. Talents are given to be traded and not hidden. If you have an incredible singing voice and you only sing in the shower because you're like, I'm afraid to sing in front of people, you're hiding your talent. Your voice may just hit somebody in ministry in a way that no one else can. This is just one of many examples. Each of, what's that?
What was it?
4 is profit is the fruit, F-R-U-I-T, the fruit of proper stewardship, not the reward. The world believes money is the reward. It's not. That's a byproduct. Each of us must render an account to the master for the use of our talents. It's one thing to get in the kingdom. If we're saved, hopefully we're really, really saved. But there's another level there. What have we done with what God has given us? The reward of our stewardship is the increase. The reward of our stewardship, I just have a brain for it. The reward of our stewardship is the increase of responsibility, the increase of more work, and the entrance into the joy of the Lord. We could do it. That's something God's had in my heart a lot, what joy really is. It's not happiness, but joy is so deep. Number 8, each of us will receive equal rewards despite the number of talents we start out with. Number 9, the root cause of poor stewardship of God's talents is often fear. Number 10, those who hide their talents are considered wicked and lazy. Number 11, God's economy rewards productivity and punishes unproductivity. And number 12, God's economy is not fair, it is just. It is just. Can I mention one other thing? Do I have time for one more quick thing? Real quick. Okay. So, faith. I broke away from a corporate career in the financial industry, training advisors all over the country. Wonderful position. Never in a million years did I want to come start my own practice. It's not what I wanted to do. So, fear was part of that. But what really was, what was I really trusting? Because I thought I had faith. I thought I trusted God, but I didn't. I trusted my ability to earn income. I think as men, this is one of the greatest hindrances in our walk with Christ. Because what is man's identity? If I meet you for the first time, Larry, I say, what do you do? I was a teacher. What do you do? I'm this. I mean, when a man gets fired or from a job, that's devastating. That's way more devastating because that is your identity. Our identity should be in Christ, but it's in our position. That's a strong foundation to break because it's not biblical. So I would just challenge you guys. I'm working on this because I'm an imperfect person. I'm pushing every day to really have that faith that He provides all. He provides all. He provides the income, everything I need. When we get there as a people, as a Christian body, guess what it does? It frees up our time to keep the main thing the main thing. Dads come to watch their kids' soccer game, not stay 2 hours at the stupid office, and they don't really need to do that much work anyway because they're way out of sync with reality. And our ministries would have the resources needed and manpower to actually reach those who are suffering. So it all goes back to faith. It's one thing to say I believe in God. That's not faith. Faith is an internal decision to really say, I don't have angst, I don't have worry, I don't hope. Hope is a horrible thing in this context. I don't hope that it'll work out. I know it'll work out because God is going to provide. But and just a quick circle back to that, as long as Romans 8, we're obedient and we're in His calling. So that's hopefully yes.
I would like to ask you, I read some years ago that half of the kids in this county, 412,000 people, Brevard County, do not have proper nutrition. I also learned recently that 3,000 children are homeless, and that last year 7 children committed suicide. And my question to you is, if you're going to have this meeting on February 13th, given the fact that we have lots of institutions, parents, schools, scouts, and et cetera, why would you not consider at least inviting representatives from the scouts and from the youth leaders of churches to your meeting, because those are the people who can make the biggest difference in what you're talking about in these so-called good houses?
Well, okay, so I'm trying to understand. So we are inviting everyone to come to this event on February 13th.
It's not everyone. You're only going to have so much room in that church. The people that you can stress are the people who can have the biggest effect on those kids. 13 to 17.
I'll explain the silver ring thing concept to Bill.
Yeah. When we did it, when we do it, we pick a venue. It's about usually the venue can seat. We usually have about half the venue filled. So there's no limits. I mean, if we overflow Coastline, you know what? And there's a demand, we'll schedule them to come back next month and pick a bigger venue. There's no limits. The more we can get, the better. So,
Jerry, will you say a prayer for us? We kind of got to wrap up.
Yep. So, Father God, I thank you for the ability to be here, to just share what you've been stirring in my heart these last year or two. And I wasn't planning to be here, but you had me here for a reason. So I just pray that the words that were spoken would fall on soil that's ready, and that those seeds would grow, and that we would see change in our community. I pray for the lost. I pray as a body we come together in unity in our community to reach those families that are suffering, to fix these issues. You're a God of abundance. We can fix all of these problems if we work together and put you first. Thank you for these men. I just pray for vitality and fuel. I pray that F.U.E.L would expand, that more men would come and be discipled each week, and that families would be changed through this important ministry. Thank you for Bill and his heart and his diligence to work tirelessly to make sure that all this happens. And I just thank you, Father God, for what you've done for all of us. Amen.
Thank you, Terry. Next week, our speaker is Bill Hall with the Prison Book Project. And thanks for coming. We'll see you next week. Be generous to Sonny, because they're nice to us.